could take on that risk. This is part 2, by the way, of the Phoenix series for March the 28th. But as I was saying, you can take on that type of challenge to maybe create some things on this new global network. And the other interesting thing that, may come into play is this idea of more jurisdictional arbitrage, right? So if you have some savings, I'm not saying you have a lot, but if you've saved up some money and you have no assets, it's really just not many assets to speak of here in the United States, it might be advantageous to look at some other regions around the world that offer an internet connection, decent food, and a decent environment, and just try to develop there. And so that's what I'm currently looking at if I'm gonna keep it 100 here. It's not to say that I don't think the United States isn't great, but I'm just looking purely at economics and maybe where I can take my savings a little farther. Looking at the potential for obviously a sell-off at any time. So like I said, it's important to, I think, have those conversations with yourself from time to time. And obviously if you've been here for this journey, you're probably in a very blessed position to, I guess, determine sort of your own destiny to that degree. Now, what have I done recently? I've actually bought some more EOS, quite a bit of EOS. I think the recent developments within the space are promising. Does it mean that EOS as a network right now moons, which I hate that term? No, not necessarily, because there is still a negative perception of EOS as a network. We have the likes of even some organizations that you think would be on the side of EOS, maybe competitors such as Binance. On their CoinMarketCap website, for example, they have what I would sort of characterize as provably false statements about EOS, and so that to me is unacceptable. Community as community members, we need to speak up against that, and it might mean that there needs to be a quest to take some action against certain BPs, right, who either support the Binance organization for talking, basically displaying untrue statements about EOS, or other types of consequences. So I'd like to know what you guys think about that. I'd love to know what you guys think about the arbitrage opportunities in terms of cost. Maybe going to another region around the world, just because costs here are insane. And this is even coming from somebody who gets paid pretty well for doing the work I do. I'd like to know what you guys are seeing in your space. Seeing a lot of costs go up here, and even like a job like historically 6 figures would be a lot in an area like Phoenix is a pretty paltry sum. It's becoming like a paltry sum. So it really starts to force people, I think, to question if it's really worth it and what the other alternatives are. And I think a lot of that has to do with the behavior of the Federal Reserve, the actions of the Federal Reserve to print lots of money and try to print our way out of this situation we have. And so as more time goes by, I think more people who are skeptical about Bitcoin are going to adopt Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. So you got to really pat yourselves on the back if you've been here on this journey with me and you've stacked some sats. And I think with that, the next evolution of this is something like EOS that has a storage of reputation, because along with wealth and some semblance on reference to a storage of value for the world is going to be your relationships with other people, and having a non-centralized means to evaluate that, and that trustworthiness of people is going to become, I think, more important, especially in a global economy. And so Eden as a concept is very potentially transformational for the entire world. I know that there's been some efforts with the likes of the Dash community, for example, to enable governance distribution funds for key initiatives in the network. But I don't know if to date that's truly been tied with the identities of individuals, or if it's been done in a playoff manner that Dan Larimer's talking about. So you have to really applaud, I think, the community for coming up with such a innovative potential mechanism for crowdfunding these ideas. It's really exciting to see what will transpire and what ideas will be proposed. And so I really look forward to supporting that. There is, of course, a risk with these things, but like the book in The Sovereign Individual, it talks about the risk aversion and, the fact that many people are so focused on maintaining stability or just surviving that it prevented them from doing any kind of experimentation. And so I think what we need is we need to encourage and support experimentation on the network so we can get a more variability in potential outcomes on results to help the network grow, right? Figure out what works and what doesn't. And so it is kind of a renewed sense for EOS in that way. It's nice to see Dan Larimer back, and it just makes something like EOS make even more sense if it's able to capture and do what it potentially can do. And so I'd like to know if you guys think that if that technology is something that shows promise, or if you think that it's the type of thing that might require some more refinement. I mean, where do you think it is in the stage of things? Do you think it has the potential? I think it does, because I think if it goes very well, there's a potential to not only see this mechanism within EOS, for tools and onboarding mechanisms take place, but you could see the resemblance or the the 3.0 of some type of ICO, but more in the form of community, especially with these NFTs that Dan's talking about with reputation. You could really see something really exciting, I think, across the EOS space, something that's very unique. And if you study the patents, I know Dan's not a fan of all the patents, but if you study their patents on even how you digitally represent connections decentralized between members of a community through digital artifacts and IDs, it does lend some promise to believe that this is something that is very probable, maybe within a year's time frame, which isn't a whole lot of time. Now, if you can combine that or imagine that with other potential integrations or initiatives, EOS stands to become something very special. We know that Block 1 has somewhere between 140 and 240,000 Bitcoin, which is probably ranks it as the top private company holding Bitcoin at this point. We know that the daily volume of Bitcoin, I think if you look at CoinMarketCap, we're a little under 1 million Bitcoin transferred every day. So I think it was like around 875,000. So if you take Block 1's amount allegedly and you look at that as a ratio, you're at least somewhere a little north above 25%. Now, if you factor in wash trading of assets, you could argue that Block 1's value that they hold is probably somewhere between 50 and 75% of the total daily Bitcoin traded on the network, with their ability to gain hash power also on EOS, so also on Bitcoin. So what you could see, and it would take some cooperation from others within the Bitcoin space, the miners, but you could see a form of merge mining take place in which you have EOS gaining actually the security of the Bitcoin network by having these miners basically add the hash of child chain, in this case EOS, to their blocks. And so that, I think, would be something that would then lend a new understanding by many within the entire crypto space who have been very skeptical of something like EOS or even like Block 1. We haven't actually seen if this is possible, but I don't know. I'd love to know if others have looked into the merge mining potentiality, the possibility of it anyway, what Block 1's going to do with their holdings. And I'd like to know if Dan could elaborate on that, because he did talk about that in some sections within the Telegram groups back in the day, but has since not really alluded to anything of that degree. So with that, guys, I think I'm gonna make this video, cut it short. Round 2 of today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope your day is going well. Let me know what you're thinking. I mean, jurisdiction, we talked a lot about jurisdiction today, the sovereign individual, Eden as a governance, and maybe future plans. So let me know what you guys think. This is Phoenix signing off. I hope you guys are having a great day. Peace.